Welcome to episode 5 of 2025, the Hook, Riff and Banger podcast. I'm Dan, this is J-Rock.
Good morning.
We're here today at Blacksound Records. We're going to have a chat with Lewis inside. Let's do it.
Let's do it.
Morning. How you going?
Yeah, good.
Yeah. Welcome.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us, Lewis.
It's all right.
So today, we're here to chat with you about Blacksound.
Cool.
Very sick store. Can you please start by telling us a bit of the history?
Yeah. So I guess this all started in my spare bedroom, and I basically started March last year, March 2024. I sort of launched the website online and started selling a whole bunch of records that I'd been slowly and steadily importing from the US, Europe, from small labels, larger labels and their distributors, so on and so forth. And basically I was able to build it up pretty quickly because I guess I was getting a lot of stuff that, at least at the time, a lot of other stores around Australia just weren't importing into the country.
Yeah.
So yeah, there was a bit of a gap there. I mean, there's lots of great record stores, but a lot of them sort of do more secondhand, big buys from Japan, stuff like that, and no one was really bringing in new, current, what's happening now sort of content. So yeah,
Sick. Certainly unique.
yeah,
We're definitely going to talk about that later on.
yeah.
Do you have anything you want to ask Mr. Lewis over here?
How's it been opening the store?
Hectic.
Yeah.
The whole process of like just getting the doors open, because I started in March last year, and then I got the keys to this shop in September, and I basically had a month to turn it around and get it open.
Yeah.
It was really, really, really hectic. I was probably here 15 hours a day, every day for a month straight. A lot of this was like all DIY. I had friends help out here and there, but apart from the counter, which I needed some help from some people to build for me because that was just a little bit too complex for my basic entry-level YouTube woodworking skills. Everything else was sort of done by myself or, found somewhere or somehow. So yeah, a lot of blood and sweat and actual blood. I had to run over to the Woolworths a few times to get Band-Aids after cutting myself with a chisel and all sorts of stuff like that. So yeah, it was really, really fun. I actually really enjoyed the process, honestly.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was full on.
Bringing good people together.
Yeah.
Very DIY.
Yeah. That's it.
Yeah. We've lost Dan. He's in the funeral doom section of the records. But I've got some more questions for you. Did you face any challenges when you opened this shop? Because it wasn't a record shop before you opened it.
No, it was like a vintage clothes sort of store, but it was more the fact that this building's really, really old. Like, really old. It's at least pre-1930, I think.
Oh my God.
So kind of like trying to fix things up. Everyone, like, it had been a shop for a long time, but every time someone had sort of come into the shop and like opened up a business here, they'd kind of done all right, we'll just like kind of get it done. Yeah. And I wanted to try and do things properly and kind of like, so I didn't have future issues.
Yeah.
And every time I sort of tried to do the right thing and tried to fix it up properly, I'd run into some kind of hectic issue. So this whole back part of the shop was covered in wallpaper, and basically in some parts of this back section here, this is like proper like masonry. The wallpaper was adding a structural element to the wall, like especially around the fireplace here. So I spent, I think, 4 or 5 days steaming wallpaper off these walls, and at one point the wall collapsed because the wallpaper was basically holding the wall in place. So thankfully, there was someone who was able to help out who was an actual plasterer. He knew what they were doing because I was a little bit out of my depth at that point.
Yeah.
So there was lots of fun stuff like that. we found a bunch of old batteries from the 1920s in the crawl space.
Yeah. Is that what these?
Yeah. So, like, they haven't hadn't used that design on a battery since I think 1930.
Oh my God.
It's the old logo. So there was like about 20 or 30 of them up in the crawl space, and that all kind of expanded and exploded. So yeah, just getting the shop into a position to be able to open it all was kind of insane. It was a lot more work than I'd maybe initially thought. This whole ceiling had to be replaced just because it was going to fall on people's heads. It was like an old horsehair plaster thing. So it just cost a lot of money, and I'd run into issues where it was like, okay, this isn't saying I can't just do a DIY fix for it. It's like I need to get professionals in to fix this bit for me. So.
Yeah. At some point, the landlord special just doesn't work anymore.
Yeah. And that's kind of how this back wall ended up the way it is.
That's what I want to ask you about.
Yeah.
How did this come about?
So after removing all that wallpaper, it became pretty apparent that this section of the building was extremely distressed. And I guess I'd sort of been joking, it's kind of funny, the walls all like a bit, am I allowed to swear on this show? The wall's a bit fucked up. It kind of looks like, Nesblod Records. The basement, wouldn't it be funny if we wrote death metal on the wall instead of black metal?
Yeah.
And I was suggesting this to Pete Hyde from White Horse, and he said, well, that's a great idea. And so there was a kind of like back and forth over a period of a couple of weeks where I was like, I don't know, because maybe a bit cheesy. I don't know if it's a good idea. It's funny, but like, will people like appreciate like that it's just a gag? And, and then basically one day we were at the pub and Pete's like, okay, so are we doing it? And he sort of twisted my arm and...
He's a good encouragement.
Yeah, I said, yeah, all right. And then I think this was like the night before the shop opened or something like that. And he just wrote on this notepad that we had like a to-do list of everything we needed to get done on like the last day, and it was like 6 p.m. death metal.
Yeah.
So
the official time.
The official time and schedule to do that, and so he was over here helping out, and he'd brought along a projector. So we actually got a projection of the original and projected it on this wall, which you could then trace over with like a dry brush technique. The metal lined up perfectly. The death and the black sort of lined up to the A, and then you could make the D out of the B. So we tried to like get it 1-for-1 to scale, like with a person for scale, like exactly kind of how it is over there. And everyone who's actually been to that store and taken a photo in front of it said, whoa, like I thought it was the same thing. Like it looks like bang on. So it's funny, and a lot of people like to take photos on it in front of it. So, it's funny. And even like people walking down the street who've never listened to death or black metal in their life seem to think it's cool.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I think 6 o'clock black metal was the best thing to put on the to-do list.
Yeah. Very much so. Yeah.
I think we've probably all seen somebody with a post in front of it. So it's pretty sick.
Yeah, it was funny. When we first opened, like it seemed like my entire Instagram feed was just like people, like I hadn't even, like not even people I knew, just like random people posting pictures of that.
Yeah, I did the first time I came here.
Yeah. Great.
I mean, it's pretty good to kind of anchor yourself with something, and something that started as a bit of a gag is pretty cool.
Yeah, and like I guess we do have a lot of death metal, and that's kind of where it started. Like, playing in death metal bands and stuff like that. That was effectively like the kind of records I started getting in from the beginning, and I was able to build it out of that and sort of slowly, steadily, continually growing like what's here. Yeah. The scope for the store is a lot larger than just like a single genre. Yeah. But it's definitely the origin story of it all.
Well, it's your origin story.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tell us about that. What bands have you played in?
Well, my main thing forever has been alters. I've been doing this since I was 17 years old. Yeah. So instead of playing in 50 million bands, I've kind of been doing that for like a really, really long time. And I guess over the last couple of years, I've been pretty fortunate to you know, I wrote an album and it was very successful, and I've managed to tour the world. And so, yeah, I got to visit a lot of record stores all over the world.
Yeah.
And I sort of had this on my to-do list for a really long time, and that was sort of a good push as well. Just getting to see and go spend a lot of money at record stores in all over the world. So, yeah, I do that. I've also played in Ignivimus, another local Melbourne band. Sort of currently I've been playing in Whitehorse on bass, which is a bit different for me. So I normally play guitar, but that's been really fun because I get to play with some friends and just play some riffs as opposed to anything too complex. Yeah. So
it's a lot of fun to watch.
Yeah, I just get to like punch the bass. Yeah. It's great.
Punching bass with your mates.
Yeah. It's awesome. It's awesome. So yeah, having fun with that. And then I've done sort of solo stuff, experimental stuff and stuff like that. But Alters has and is and probably always will be my main sort of thing.
Yeah, that's your baby.
Yeah.
All right, let's go find Dan.
Yeah,
He's lost in the records.
Yeah.
Cheers.
Right, sorry for running away. You have a good collection here.
Thank you.
And I can see Jess now napping under the t-shirts after a big night. Huge amount of stock. Enough to make me feel a bit silly. I don't know a lot of these bands, and that's a compliment, right? You have a lot of niche kind of stuff.
A lot of people come into the shop and don't necessarily know any of the bands, but that's kind of like half the fun.
Yeah.
Like for me anyway, like what I remember the most about going to record stores as a kid was like not knowing stuff and finding new stuff that I hadn't heard, and that was what I enjoyed about going to record stores. I used to get really excited. Like I grew up in Adelaide. So whenever I would come over to Melbourne to like go see a band or whatever, I would go visit stores like Missing Link, and I would be pumped because I would be finding stuff, one, that I didn't know, or some stuff that I did know that was just like really obscure and just you weren't able to get anywhere. So, you know, I've got some awesome things in my collection that I got from that shop and other stores. And it's kind of like the point of going to a record store in the first place.
Some sort of magic to it, right?
Like, discovering music outside of an algorithm, outside of like that kind of echo chamber. And I think a lot of like younger people are starting to realize that too, especially like really younger people where they've, you know, grown up with like their format was streaming. And they've suddenly realized, oh, you can buy a CD and it doesn't have adverts, which is really cool. So, I get a lot of young kids coming to the shop and finding new music that way. Sometimes they'll ask me for a recommendation. I'm always happy to put stuff on the stereo. It's just a nice way to engage with music in like a very different setting that I think has been lost for a long time. So
yeah, that's fair. Where would you start with a recommendation to somebody new who hasn't maybe heard much of this stuff before?
I mean, it really depends. Like, what are you into at the moment? What do you
give me some raw black metal?
Raw black metal. I don't have a lot of raw black metal, honestly.
I'll give you a different genre.
No. I mean, I have some, but I personally not. I don't vibe with like most black metal. I'm really picky.
That's fair.
The black metal I love is like bands like Thantafactsaf and shit like that, where it's like bending space and time. Let's go some death. Give me some death. I mean, I guess if you were like really entry level, and you're like wanting to like maybe get into death metal, and you were like kind of like finding your way around, like the obvious choice is like go to that.
Yes.
I mean, I feel like everyone who watches your show probably knows this, but like
I would assume so.
Yeah.
I saw them at that show up there.
That was a great show. That whole tour was fantastic.
It's insane,
I get, Blood Incantation, bands like that, that people probably know, and like they're an interesting case in that, like, they've kind of blown up so large now that and because of the sort of stuff they've done, they attract a different audience that's sort of interested in, they're coming from like a prog background, or like, they're really into Tangerine Dream. Or stuff like that. And so it's a bit more probably accessible for someone like getting into stuff for the first time. Otherwise, sometimes, people will ask me like, what's like the nastiest gore grind you've got? And, I can generally find something like, oh God, I hope it's in there.
Maybe it's sold out.
Like this one, this Human Corpse Abuse record is just absolutely filthy.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, like I try to get like a good range of stuff in and from like labels that are really putting stuff out from bands that are doing stuff right now. That's really like the forefront of everything. And it's not just metal. I guess the idea with the shop more broadly is it's radical outside of music.
Yeah.
So that encapsulates everything from metal to punk to noise, experimental, the more bonkers end of jazz and everything in between. And it's more about, I guess, kind of the intent with the delivery rather than the style of music specifically. There's like a somewhat famous internet quote. I can't remember who said it first, but it was something like, noise is just sound art without institutional funding. And really that's what all of this is. And, a lot of people, I guess, traditionally haven't really given and paid a lot of respect to like what like metal or punk or noise artists are really doing.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, they're creating art, and that's what it is. It's just not propped up by, funds from a government or
absolutely.
institution. Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, you've got a lot of cool stuff, not just for seasoned, listeners. You're welcoming everyone, which is really sick. It's what we like to see. But also giving like a voice, a place for these artists who don't get much attention, mainstream.
Yeah.
Which is really sick. I really want to know like what is it that appeals to you in these artists? Like what do you look for?
I mean, my personal taste dictates all of this a little bit, but it certainly doesn't dictate everything. And there's a lot of like choices I'll make that would like not align with my own personal taste.
Sure.
Because everybody's taste is, very subjective.
Yeah.
But I guess, I'm looking at bands and labels who are doing stuff that's, I'm very focused on like what's current right now. And I guess as like an artist and musician myself, I kind of want to be surprised and hear something I haven't heard yet. And I'm kind of always looking for that and like what's next.
Yeah.
So as much like I love the classics as much as the next person, and that's kind of like filling out the history of music into a shop is not like easy. That's like a lot of time and millions of dollars because there's just so much recorded music over time. So I guess like where I've tried to start this is really focusing on that new stuff and placing like quite high importance on that, and then gradually filling out back catalogue titles as we go along over time, because it just doesn't happen overnight.
Yeah, it's cool ethos. Well, I would love to sort of take a peek. Are there any cool records that maybe hard to come by, rare? Anything a little funny you'd like to show us? Yeah,
probably my favorite the moment is that Forged Relics record. Can you pass me?
Let's get it.
Yeah. Sorry, I've had this one on the record player. This is a really interesting funeral doom record. So Forged Relics is a band out of Slovenia. It's ex-members of Leech Feast, who are a band who've now like kind of split up. But basically, they're sort of like more on like the metal punk kind of like end of things, and a couple of these people formed this band. It's funeral doom, but with organ, drums, and vocals, and it's probably the best thing I've heard since something like Mirror Reaper or the June Frost.
Sweet. Okay.
I really love funeral doom. It's one of my favorite kind of sub-genres of doom. But if you get in close on this cover, it's probably going to be really hard to see from afar. But like the insert is done like with a risograph print on black, and if you get really close on the cover, you can see where there's like clear tape where they've collaged this together, and it's done in this really beautiful sort of DIY way, and the album's really good. It's I've been listening to it a lot, like in the morning.
Cool.
It's not quite too abrupt.
Good way to ease into the day, right?
Good way to ease into the day. You know, it's either something like this or like something more ambient, Oren and Barchi or the Knicks or something like that, where I don't really want to be blasted in the face first thing. Otherwise, if I do want to be blasted in the face, there's a new record from a band called Blood Monolith that's floored me.
Awesome.
That I'm sold out of in large format. I do have a CD left. Give me 1 second, I'm going to grab one.
Awesome.
So, Blood Monolith, these guys, so this is Shelby Lermo from Nails, Ex Vastum, also the band Ulthar, and with Tommy Wall from Undeath, Nolan from a band called Shitstorm, and Aiden, who's young drummer who plays in Deliriant Nerve, Goetia, a bunch of other bands. I kind of knew about this project a little while ago because I did a tour in the US with Aiden. He was playing in Goetia, one of his other bands, and this was, he was talking about this is probably like the most extreme thing he's ever done. This kid's like 20. Wow. He drums like a maniac, and he just loves grindcore and war metal. Yeah, cool. So this album is the equivalent of being encased in concrete and then run over by a truck.
Hell yeah.
It is so relentlessly savage and brutal. And it kind of combines, those elements of grindcore and death metal into just like one fierce Category 5 hurricane. It's absolutely mental. And it's got absolutely awesome art. It's like Nick Blinko from Rudimentary Penny. This is one of his pieces. So like the artwork is incredible, and like it just kind of unexpected as well for this kind of a type of record. And I just think it works really, really well together. This is one that a lot of people will probably sleep on because they don't know the band yet. Yeah. It's an unfamiliar name, but everyone involved in it is like top tier. So awesome. This is probably my favorite at the moment for like just nasty music.
When was this one released? Was that?
It literally came out in like the last 2 weeks.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah.
It's
very, very new.
Awesome. Yeah. Feeling positive about the future of extreme music?
There's honestly so much good stuff coming out, like all the time. Like in the last a couple of months, there's been a ridiculous amount of really, really good stuff. So, and there's always really, really good stuff. But yeah, the last couple of years, there's a lot of labels are just putting out really, really fantastic stuff. The $20 Bin were on fire last year, and I'm really looking forward to seeing what they put out this year. They're always putting out really, really good material. The stuff that comes out in Profound Law is always really, really good. Flenser have really, I think, become a lot bigger, probably due to like the sheer power and popularity now of Chat Pile and the way that they've blown up. But it's really exposed a lot of people to their kind of the rest of their catalogue. Yeah. And they've got some really good stuff, and there's all sorts of bands doing all sorts of really amazing stuff. And so, I guess I'm trying to bring all of that together and just have it in one space where, there's a critical mass of all the good shit and none of the stuff that's just like ephemeral. Yeah. So, yeah.
Excellent. Well, honestly, like it's really cool what you've done so far. And obviously, if you're looking for something new or you're looking to explore something, please come to Blacksound. I'm sure Lewis will have some recommendations for anyone. So we've moved on from records. Our store, I'm looking around, you're selling a lot of stuff. It's not just vinyl. It's t-shirts, it's zines, it's cassettes, it's CDs. Is there anything you want to show us here that's noteworthy?
Yeah, I like a lot of weird format stuff, and I guess cassettes and stuff are like, it's a very accessible format. It's a very DIY format. You can have pro press stuff, but it's also really accessible for people to kind of make their own stuff. Probably one of the coolest releases I have in here is this Vault Deprogrammer Abort Retry Fail. So Vault Deprogrammer, it's like a noise core project with a couple local people who play various other things. But it's basically a floppy disk, but it's a business card CDR attached to the rear of a floppy disk, and the floppy disk is just a mounting utensil so to speak, but it's got like the OBI strip and everything.
Wow.
And it's just really, really cool. And, same in the tapes, like people can make their own stuff. You can have like really well done stuff, like the stuff from Chaotic Noise Productions from the US. It's one of the guys from Suppression that runs that label, and all the art and everything is really, really well done. And then you've got stuff like this Obscurant release, which is totally DIY, and then all the artwork and everything is they're all like Xerox kind of a thing, completely unique. Each copy is like a different piece of artwork where something's being drawn over, and like the tapes are like old tapes that have been recycled and they've just like written over the top of it, and I love that sort of thing. I've got like a lot of stuff in my collection like that, like old Undergang demos and stuff like that where they've taped over old library tapes. It's awesome. I think that's a really important part of tape culture, and it's nice to have in the store, and it's just like a very growing section. A lot of people like this sort of thing. So
It's incredible. It's cool how retro it is, but also as you said, accessible. Anyone can do this. Get a pretty raw sound, recording over an old tape, I imagine, too.
Yeah. Well, I mean, people are really into the lo-fi thing as well.
Yeah.
So it sort of appeals to like, a wide range of people. I'm hoping to get some tape players and stuff like that in eventually as well.
Yeah.
Just because, a lot of people really like tapes, think they're a really cool format. I like them because they pose like a different design challenge to say something like a record or a CD where everything's kind of like square.
Yeah. You got to consider all the angles as you fold over.
Yeah. So it's like you can come up with something that's quite unique. And, normally these days, if there's a tape release of a new release, that's normally the first thing that sells out. And that's pretty consistently what I've observed. There's some really cool stuff in here, like this Evoken box set, which has got like probably arguably 4 of the best Evoken records all on tape, and they come in this little thing. So Antithesis of Light, Atremors, Quietus, Across the Void, all in one sort of little thing. It's cool.
It's incredible. Yeah. It's amazing.
There's so much in this little shop. You've got so much more than just music, like our favourite candles in the world, Black Match. Can you tell us about some of the other stuff that you've got in here?
Yeah. I've got candles. I've got zines, lots of zines. I've got magazines. I've got Garfield air fresheners.
Sally Townsend Garfield air fresheners.
Sally makes those. They're really awesome.
They're the best.
I often get a lot of customers come into the shop and say, "Oh, do you have it in a lasagna scented?" I feel like that would be too much for a motor vehicle, but maybe it was a missed opportunity. I'm not sure. I've also got jewelry. This is Hex Arcana, so Emma's work.
Yeah.
Which is really, really cool. I've got like a Sun Ra figurine, which is quite random, but he really ties the place together.
Yeah.
So there's like a lot of other stuff that sort of like fits and is adjacent with sort of the stuff going on in the store.
Yeah. Lots of friends of the shop.
Yeah.
You've got T-shirts too. Let's go for a wander. As we make our way into the gallery space, shirts, art.
This is part of our current exhibition on here. So we normally have like a rotating exhibition sort of every month.
Yep.
So this is the current exhibition that's on at the moment with sort of art, a lot of print work from a guy from Canberra who goes under the name 7U?. We've got one coming up in a couple of weeks, which will be Christian Bishop, who does a lot of like metal sculptural work and stuff like that.
Awesome.
So we often have like art prints for sale, as well as original art, zines, all sorts of stuff, T-shirts. We've got a lot of local stuff in here. A lot of local bands come through, bring some stuff in, and we can just put it in the shop and sell it here for them. And, because people can just walk in off the street and pick it up instead of having to pay postage.
Super accessible.
We tend to move it. So local bands are constantly sort of selling stuff through here pretty successfully. So,
it's good
fun.
to see. You've had a few exhibitions so far since you've opened.
Yeah.
You've had some listening parties. We were all here for the Ghost Smoker listening party of their new record, Inertia Cult, which was sick.
That was really cool.
Yeah.
That's a great record, actually.
Yeah. You've had a little noise matinee afternoon, which was pretty cool.
We had a noise show in here. We're going to be doing some more of those. We've got another one coming up on the 22nd of June, which will be before this airs, I think. So looking to the future.
You will have seen it
you
by
will
now.
Hopefully seen it by then. But yeah, I'm sort of hoping to put on like at least one of those sorts of things a month, like always like an art opening of some sort. Because I think having the art sort of gallery space within here, you know, it's not just radical outside of music, it's radical outside of art as well. And it's sort of giving a space to artists sort of working with and around sort of music or like an adjacent area where it's stuff that's kind of just doesn't really fit in a traditional white box. And is never going to get put in an exhibition in a lot of those sorts of places. And there's a lot of people doing really awesome art. That should be on a wall somewhere. I've got some bigger things planned for later in the year. We're going to be bringing our first international guest over for one of those. So we've got an artist from New Zealand who's very well known, who'll be coming over to exhibit, but that will be in September, and there'll be announcements about that in the future. But yeah, really looking forward to that happening.
Stay tuned.
Stay tuned.
How exciting.
Yeah.
There's a real sense of community, and I think saying that this space, the exhibition space, is for artists that don't or won't ever get those commercial platforms, as they shouldn't, because their art's so unique. The sense of community in here is rad. Like, the listening party was awesome. You knew pretty much everybody when you walked in the door, or if not, you'd said hello to everybody. You really support the local scene, which is epic.
It's important. I mean, like I've been doing that like pretty much my entire existence from the time I started going to shows when I was like 14 or so. Because back then there were all ages shows in Adelaide. So like I've been going to local shows since I was like, a young teenager. And I've sort of been involved with stuff like that, like basically forever. So for me, it's just like the logical thing. And like, you've kind of got to support each other. We're too small a country and too small a community to, you know, if you're not supporting one another, you know, it's a terrible mistake. And so like, it is important. And I wouldn't really have it any other way. You know, some people choose not to live that way, but you know, that's up to them. So
we're so far away from everyone else, we might as well
we're extremely isolated.
Nourish what we've got. Which is such a fucking awesome scene.
We're extremely isolated from the rest of the world, and it's really hard for local bands and local artists if you're from Australia, and you know, just getting any kind of traction in the US or Europe, where the main markets are, is really, really difficult. So it's important that we're sort of supporting ourselves and supporting each other.
Keep the economy going.
That's it.
Who are some of your favourite local bands that are releasing music at the moment? Any favourite records? I know it's the hardest question.
That's a really hard one. And then I'm going to feel bad if I like forget someone.
I'll make it easier. You can only pick a couple. Just pick the first that come to mind.
I really like the stuff Violet's been doing with Teeth Dreams. That's, I think I'm sold out of her stuff at the moment, but it's really, really good quality stuff, really like cinematic noise. It's, you know, people who don't really know noise or don't really listen to noise or engage with that scene, like maybe, it doesn't really make sense. But give it a go. It's like really sort of cinematic. It's got this sort of, vibe. It's quite dreamy and, very interesting. I'm also really into the stuff Christian is doing under the name Bacchus Harsh. This is kind of like weird occult techno kind of a thing. So Bacchus Harsh is the name of that project. He formerly used other sort of names for his work, but album he released a couple of years back as part of that Flash Forward program was fantastic. And I sell a lot of copies of that in the shop. People, like, they give it a go and really, really enjoy it. But then, on the metal side, like, there's kind of too many to mention. I'm so kind of directly involved in a lot of that. So it's sort of like, there's a lot of really good stuff happening all across the country. that was a great demo tape I got in the other week from a new band from Queensland out through the RIP Peace label. And that's Phenomena. And it's like this weird dark punk kind of thing, which was really, really cool. Really enjoyed that, actually. And then, you know, there's... If I start mentioning metal bands, it's just
We love all of them equally.
I know,
Yeah.
I know.
We can't mention one without the others.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I don't really have like a favourite at the moment.
Yeah.
Like,
That's probably a really good answer.
actually, you know what? I really like that Diploid record still. I'm still like spinning
Mantra?
that regularly.
Yeah.
Yeah, both of them.
Yeah.
Both of them. Yeah, the Diploid record. I think I probably play that more often than anything in the shop.
Yeah.
I'll just reach to it. Like, particularly the full length. Like, I'm still like really high on that.
Yeah.
That's just, it combines a lot of things and does grindcore in a really interesting way. It's nasty.
Yeah.
But then it's also slow and like kind of there's stuff going on. It's good.
Yeah. You get put through the ringer as you listen to that record.
Yeah,
it's so good.
It's a journey. So yeah, Diploid, 100%.
Yeah.
100%.
I reckon Dream Show in here, you'd probably blow the windows out, but
yeah, I would love
here.
to. I would love to have them in here. I think this space would actually work really well for them because they're only a 3-piece. So,
Yeah.
like I feel like I want to test the wall. I want to push it, but like I feel like a 3-piece is like a nice starting point. Any more than that, it's like a little bit extreme.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're looking forward to doing lots of more installs throughout the course of the year.
Yeah.
So hopefully we start putting on like actual like that fully fledged bands in here.
Awesome.
And that will be really, really cool because there's no real spaces for all ages type stuff.
Yeah.
So if younger kids can come to a record store and see a show for free.
Yep.
Find some new bands, discover a local scene,
Yep.
make friends, start going to gigs. Like that's really awesome.
Yeah.
It just doesn't exist without I guess there's Sydney Road in Frankston, but yeah, it's a long way to travel for a lot of people.
Yeah, making it accessible for younger people. I mean, you've got to start somewhere.
Yeah.
And if they're not available, where do you get... I mean, the internet's a broad place, but meeting people in a shop, making friends forever,
Yeah.
seeing a gig, buying a shirt.
And like that's like how I started. Like I was putting up like flyers in music shops and like you know, trying to find band members and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And like the old little like rip the little thing off that. That's
Take a phone number.
literally like how I found people.
Yeah.
Once upon a time. Like these days it's just totally different.
Yeah.
I guess there's pros and cons to like the internet, but I think everything is just become increasingly hazy and kind of like just shit.
Yeah.
So being able to engage with people in a real setting and talk to people in real life is kind of important.
Yeah.
Something we've lost a lot of over the last
Yeah.
few years. Yeah.
Forming that sense of community.
Yeah, 100%. 100%.
Yeah. Sick. Well, I look forward to seeing Diploid in here.
Yeah, it'll happen at some point.
I'm scared for the walls and the roof.
Oh, that'll be fun.
Might come down.
Oh. So cool.
Fucking trams.
I know.
You can get
Wow.
the tram down to Blacksound on Sydney Road. It's 351 Sydney Road. Is that right?
Yeah, well, you can catch the 22-tooth tram. The 22-tooth tram stop of 3056 regional dimensions, still unnamed.
Wow. Grab a tote bag. That's amazing. Thank you so much for having us in the shop and
My
letting us
pleasure.
take over. It's been a lot of fun.
It has been fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Aside from coming into the store, how can people support Blacksound?
Well, yeah, I guess come into the store, buy a record or you know, a CD, tape. We've got lots of other stuff too. Our art shows. Come to an art show. We normally have free beers or something going on, and those art openings are always really fun.
Yeah.
And we're planning a lot of in-stores as well. So come to an art show, come to an in-store, buy a tote bag or a Club Mate or whatever you like, or just come enjoy the space because, yeah, I guess it's a real community space and that's what we're trying to build here. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, it's just come enjoy the space.
And if you're not in Melbourne or you're too far away,
You can shop
head to the
online as
website?
well. We do free delivery Australia-wide and to New Zealand. So free delivery on orders over 150, which is not hard to do if you're buying records or a lot of CDs. And over 200, it's free shipping to New Zealand if you've got
Sweet.
any viewers in New Zealand. So, otherwise it's just like $10 flat rate Australia-wide. Anywhere, we ship every day.
Yeah.
It's fast.
Can you pick up in store if you are
Yeah,
local?
you can pick up in store as well. So if you're like just browsing on the website, and the website is exactly the same as the shop, it's got all the same stuff.
Yep.
If you're like browsing and it's like, oh, that new thing's come in, I'm like, really want that. You can just do like a in-store pickup order and then just come through when you can come through. There's no rush.
Yep.
I've got a big holds box underneath here, so you can just, do a pickup order online and then just come to the store and pick it up when you're ready.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Amazing. Thank you so much for having us.
My pleasure.
It's been really fun.
Yeah, cool.
Hello. It's the ghost of Blacksound.
Fuck off, Ghost.
Get out of
We don't want you here.
Get out of here, punk. Ghosts are welcome.
Yeah. We smoke ghosts.
Oof. Today's been a lot of fun. We're in the courtyard of Blacksound, which you can definitely come and sit in if you're ever here. Lewis usually has a pot of coffee on the go.
Yeah.
Sitting out here after you've bought some records and reflecting on your purchases.
It's been really cool though. Lewis is insanely knowledgeable.
Yeah.
Really welcoming as well. So he'll be there to like recommend new stuff, crazy stuff, anything you want.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a really cool place and I'm stoked to be here. It's really nice.
Yeah, since the day he opened this shop, it's been really cool. There's been in-stores and exhibitions and the listening party that we all came to for Go Smoker. It's on Sydney Road in Brunswick, or if you are shopping online, you can go to blacksound.com.au and buy something really cool. There's a really cool niche selection of local and international artists.
Yeah.
Everything from records to floppy disks.
Floppy disks, air fresheners.
Yeah,
Got
candles.
The lot. It's really cool. But yeah, support this place. There's nothing like it. So
Yeah, it's definitely a one-of-a-kind shop.
yeah, it's been a good one.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming, everyone.
Thanks for listening to the Hook, Riff and Banger podcast. This is episode 5 of 2025.
I'm Jess.
I'm Dan.
See ya.
Was that ridiculous?